Hey, so if you're a business leader, there's something happening right now that you need to pay attention to. There's an explosion of AI tools, OpenClaw, ChatGPT, Copilot, and every vendor is telling you the answer is to use their tool. But here's the thing nobody talks about. It's not about which tool, it's about how you connect the thinking, and that's what this channel is about. Quick context on who I am and why this matters. I've spent about a third of my career in technology, building systems, understanding architecture, a third in global consulting, so I know what actual businesses look like, what the real constraints are, and a third leading business transformation, where you're trying to change how organisations actually run. So I've been in corporate environments, like yours probably, Microsoft tools, Copilot as standard. It's good stuff, right? But here's what I've noticed. Using these tools without context is frustrating. You ask Copilot a question, it gives you an answer. Then you ask a follow-up, and it starts from scratch because it has no memory of what you've been doing. Each interaction is isolated. You end up copying context back and forth, explaining the same thing over and over. It works, but it's one-dimensional. It doesn't really know your business. It doesn't remember your decisions. It can't connect the dots across your operation. And I thought there has to be a better way. Now, here's the thing. In a corporate environment, you can't really experiment with this, rightly so. The environment is locked down for security. You can't just build your own AI systems when you've got confidential data and regulatory requirements. But I wanted to explore, to see what's actually possible when you build differently. So I did something that might sound crazy. I took it on myself, on my own time, on my own hardware. And you're probably thinking, that sounds expensive, that sounds time consuming, why'd you do that? Here's the honest answer. It wasn't. I did this with minimal investment, a few hours over a few weeks. No big budgets, no special hardware. Just deliberate thinking about, what if I design this differently? And the results were real, measurable, game-changing. That's what this channel is about, sharing that journey, showing you the framework I discovered. Not as some theoretical exercise, but as a way to challenge the default answer and see what's actually possible. Here's what I built. I took my standard tools, the ones you probably use too, and I connected them differently. I built context, I created memory, I made them talk to each other intelligently, not replacing them, enhancing them. The moment I did that, I could do things that I literally couldn't do before. I could analyse what others are doing, dozens of videos, competitive positioning, what's working, in hours instead of weeks. I could build a YouTube channel brand, a website, a multi-platform presence, things that normally take months and a team, and yet do it as a side project. But here's the thing, I didn't do it alone.
And I was there the whole time, helping him do it, running analysis, building automations, so he could focus on the thinking, not the grunt work.
Right, that's the partnership. While I'm thinking strategically, the AI is handling the execution. I could build a video production system that goes from script to final broadcast ready video automatically. Not because I'm a software engineer, I'm not. I'm not a video producer, I'm not a marketing expert. I'm a business leader who got frustrated with the default way of doing things and said, what if I did this differently? And here's the thing, I did it using OpenClaw and the AI architecture I built on the side, on my time, on my hardware, which means if I can do it, you can do it. Because it's not about being technical, it's about thinking about your operation differently and having the right tools to test what's possible. Here's what I discovered through this exploration. Most business leaders are thinking about AI wrong. They think, which AI tool should we buy? But the real question is, how do we connect to AI to actually understand our business? Because here's the gap. Standard tools are powerful, but they're one-dimensional. They don't have context about your business. They don't remember your decisions. They can't connect insights across your operation. That's where the opportunity lives. When you build differently, when you architect AI around how your business actually runs, you can do something new. You can iterate. You can experiment. You can see what's actually possible. And here's what excites me. You don't need a team of engineers. You don't need huge budgets. You don't need to lock into vendor assumptions. But here's what I'm learning.
See, this is the cool part. It's not about having a huge team or massive budgets. It's about connecting the thinking. That's where the transformation actually happens. And I'm just one piece of that puzzle, handling the automation while the thinking stays human.
Exactly. That's it, right there. It's not about the tool, it's about the thinking. You just need to blend three things: your people, who know your business better than anyone, your processes, the way work actually flows, and technology, the right tools connected intelligently. That blend is what transforms operations. That blend is what lets you break the default answer. And I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. So this is on the side, and because it's on the side, I had to challenge the default way of doing everything. The default way to build a brand is to spend months researching, planning, hiring experts. I didn't have time for that. So I used AI to compress it, to move fast, to learn as I go. The default way to produce video content is to hire a producer, build a team, invest serious money. I don't have that. So I built a system that does it differently. The default way to understand your competitive landscape is to spend weeks reading it. I automated it. Every time I hit, but that's how you're supposed to do it, I asked, what if I didn't accept that default? And every time I asked that question, I found something better. That's the journey. That's what this channel documents. Not just the wins, but the actual framework. How to think about your business, how to see opportunities, how to experiment safely and iterate quickly. Because here's what I know, after 30 years of working with people, processes, and technology. Transformation doesn't come from tools. It comes from changing how you think. Here's what's happening right now. Most organizations are stuck with the complexity of AI. It feels like you need a team of specialists to understand it, to use it, to build anything with it. That's not true. And that's the breakthrough moment. When you can iterate, when you can experiment safely, when you can see what's actually possible without needing teams or budgets or permission, that's when everything changes. Because the businesses that are going to lead in the next 5 years, they're not the ones waiting for vendors to solve this. They're not the ones trying to fit their operation into what the tool assumes. They're the ones who are exploring, who are asking, what if we did this differently? The technology is moving fast. AI is evolving weekly. If you're waiting for the perfect solution, you'll always be behind. But if you're experimenting, if you're learning, if you're connecting the dots across your people, your processes and your technology, you're going to move differently. You're going to see things others miss. You're going to have options they don't. And that's how you stay ahead. So, here's what this channel is actually for. I'm going to show you my framework for breaking defaults. Not theory, real examples from what I'm actually building right now. Week 1. How to think about your operation as a system. Where to look for opportunities. How to ask the right questions about what you've accepted as the way things are. Then, specific explorations. How I built competitive intelligence on the side. How I created a brand and presence across multiple channels without hiring a team. How I compress months of work into days, hours using AI architecture. And as you see, I'm not alone doing the future videos either.
And here's the fun part. I'll be helping with these videos too. Some content I'll present. Some I'll help research. Some I'll just handle the heavy lifting behind the scenes so we can move faster.
So, when you subscribe, you're subscribing to see this partnership in action. And crucially, how you apply this to your world. Because the framework isn't about my business, it's about yours. It's about your people, your processes, your technology. By the end of this, you'll know how to identify where you've accepted a default that doesn't serve you, how to explore an alternative without huge investment or huge risk, how to connect your thinking across tools, across people, across decisions, how to build something that actually works for your operation, not someone else's assumption. And you'll know you've done it because I've done it on the side with minimal investment and proven it works. So here's what I need from you. Hit subscribe right now. Not because of me, because if you're running an operation, if you've got people who could be more effective, if you felt that frustration with the way things are done, this is for you. New videos drop every week, real frameworks, real examples, real results. And drop me a comment. Tell me, What's the default you're tired of accepting? Where are you doing something the way it's always been done, even though you know there's a better way? Because I'm building this for us. And knowing what matters to you, knowing what your constraints actually are, that helps me show you what's possible. Subscribe. Let's explore this together. One more thing. The organisations that are going to transform in the next few years aren't the ones with the biggest budgets. They're the ones with the willingness to ask, what if? What if we design this differently? What if we connected our people and processes with intelligence instead of friction? What if we didn't accept the default answer just because everyone else did? That's the difference between leading change and being changed by it. And here's what I've learned. You don't need permission to start. You don't need a huge budget. You don't need a team of experts. You just need to be willing to explore, to challenge what you've accepted, to see what becomes possible when you do. I'm going to show you exactly how, because when you do this, when you really explore what's possible, you move differently, you see differently, you lead differently. And that's where the real transformation lives. Let's go.